We've lost audio, guys. If production can please let me know, have you caught audio back? Do we have audio production? Yes, we have audio. Fantastic. Thank you, guys. And so, as we look through what is going on in education around the world, we see that we tend to have competing priorities. Sometimes we want to go back to the way how things were done before. Sometimes we want to push forward and be on the cutting edge and, do something new and do something fantastic. And so we are constantly going back and forth. Is it the old school way? Do we need to be doing cursive writing? Do we need to be memorizing our multiplications tables again? Or do we need to be doing something new? Do we need to be doing like Vedic math or abacus math? I don't know if you've seen like kids flashing up these signs as they're doing abacus math. Should we be teaching lots of different tricks so that kids can get through their work faster? Should we be teaching for standardized testing? Should we be teaching the individual child? So many questions. And one of the things recently that has happened in Ontario, Ontario has decided all of a sudden to go back to basics. Okay, that's what we were told. Ontario education is going back to basics. Now, as an education development specialist myself, I thought, that's interesting that without much fanfare or anything, that we have decided suddenly that we're going back to basics. So where is this coming from? What's this sudden push that is taking us in this direction? We had all of the psychologists who said, well, we're not going to continue doing this in classroom anymore. So we're going to change it all of a sudden and we're going to do that now. And so why are we going back? Why are we going back to, teaching phonics, for example? I mean, why did we stop in the first place? But why are we going back? What's the push? Why all of a sudden are we going back to numeracy the way how we did arithmetic before and not just recognizing numbers and understanding how to manipulate them? What is that push coming from? And I did some digging and I came across a lawsuit from the Human Rights Commission against the Ministry of Education in Ontario. And I always give you guys proof. I'm not just talking off the top of my head. I'll make sure that you have that link in the comments. But we were very surprised to learn that our our government has been asked to hold itself accountable because we have been graduating too many young people into the world of work who have subpar reading skills. And this lawsuit comes because the Ministry of Education has been held in contempt of the child's right to read. And that's why this conversation has become so much more important for us to have throughout this month. So, as we're talking about literacy, we're not just talking about, and I want to make this distinction very clear, right? A lot of times, people expect that we're going to be talking about third world countries as they used to be called, or developing countries as they're now called. No, this is a first world problem. Okay, this is a massive problem. Our children aren't reading, like getting into material, understanding character development, understanding denouement, understanding conflict and how that is built and derived and pieced together. We're not understanding the mastery of language. And because of that, then we're also not understanding all the other things that we rely on language for, like our history and, mathematics and chemistry and physics and all these other things where the ability to think critically about information that is coming to you is a necessary skill. So, to help me go a little deeper in terms of how you as a parent can help your child. So no matter what's going on in school, if you have a schooled child, I will admit to you right now, I am a homeschool parent. I homeschool my older daughter and will be homeschooling my younger daughter. And so I'm really passionate about the ways that we as parents can be really directly involved in our children's learning and education. But I have the wonderful Miss Alisha George, who's going to join me shortly. Miss Alisha is a passionate educator, and she's the visionary founder of Beyond Academics. And we got connected by a mutual friend who knows my passion for education and knows that Alisha and I speak using very similar language. And the first time Alisha and I sat down at her mother's kitchen table, we just, I mean, talked and talked and talked and talked and talked and talked and talked because we had so much in common. Beyond Academics is a unique homeschooling program that's based in Ontario, Canada. Miss Alisha's educational journey includes graduating with high honors, where she earned her diploma and degree in early childhood education. With a background in nursing and over a decade of experience in early childhood education, she has dedicated her life to nurturing young minds and empowering children through innovative and above grade level learning experiences. She's an accomplished author. Miss Alisha has written several impactful books, including You Can Be an Inventor Too, Beyond Academics Blank Recipe Book, My First Organ Book, and a series of workbooks designed to teach children critical skills in fun, engaging ways. Her creations emphasize inclusion, diversity, and the celebration of Black inventors and innovators, as well as introducing young scholars to anatomy and the wonders of the human body. Having worked within the traditional education system as an educator, Ms. Alicia witnessed its limitations and was inspired to change the trajectory for today's children. Recognizing the need for a more holistic and individualized approach, she launched Beyond Academics, offering programs that build confidence, foster creativity, and equip children with the skills to thrive both academically and emotionally. Her workshops, books, and educational programs incorporate life skills, entrepreneurship, and creative pursuits like cooking and baking. Miss Alicia is deeply committed to rebuilding confidence in children, particularly those affected by the challenges of COVID-19, which we will definitely talk more about, and fostering a strong sense of community. In addition to her educational endeavors, Miss Alicia is a proud mother whose family actively participates in her work. Her 12-year-old son, Elijah, illustrated You Can Be an Inventor Too, and her 5-year-old son, Liam, graces its cover. Guided by her faith in Yahweh, Miss Alicia continues to inspire children and families, believing that every child deserves the tools to excel and lead fulfilling lives. I am so happy to present to you Miss Alisha George, who will be joining us now live. Welcome, Miss Alisha.
Hello, hello. Nadia, that was a beautiful welcoming. Thank you.
You are very welcome, my dear.
Smiling from ear to ear. I'm just like, oh.
That's all you.
Yes, I know. It honestly it hits different when you hear someone repeating back all your accomplishments. I'm like, man, I appreciate that. Thank you.
You've been working, and it is
Yeah,
noticed.
thank
And
you.
we are here to celebrate that work and to
Yes.
share it with the world, because this work has been pouring out of you from that place of love and care, to which I can attest
Mhm.
personally.
Yeah.
And so I want the world to hear from you, Alisha. I shared a bit of your bio and your background, but tell
Yes.
me why. Tell me why you had to do what you're doing right now.
I had this feeling of enough is enough. That feeling of I need to change the trajectory of our children. I see the direction that it's heading in. I see the intention behind it. And I'm like, okay, no, that's enough now. I need to create something now that has children's interests at heart. And that's the first thing that should matter when we're looking at how can we now foster and nurture independent critical thinkers, right? Not just about the academics, but just to succeed in life in general. What can I do? How can I create that? And I knew I could, right? And this was just my God given talents. I'm just like, I'm going to put this to work and create something. I don't know how it's going to start, but I just need to start. So that's always my biggest thing that I say to people. I'm like, guys, just start. I promise you, things will unfold. And it is scary at first because it's new and nobody's doing this, but it's needed.
Mm-hmm. And what you just said there is so important. And I'm sure there's so many educators who
Yeah.
are in that feeling of this isn't quite working out,
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
am experiencing in classroom, what I'm experiencing with the structure isn't what I expected when I was
Mhm.
pursuing my studies, or when I first had that passion that called me to the classroom. And you
Exactly.
said, I knew I could do it. I didn't
Yeah.
know exactly how it was going to happen, but I knew I just had to start.
Yeah.
And I think that that is so important, that, people who recognize that there is a problem, feel that sense of empowerment. So, what would you say to the educator who doesn't quite think he or she can do it? They
Ooh.
know, they see the problem, they know it
Yeah.
has to change, but they're not sure if it's them. What would you say to them?
I think it's really outsourcing too. Because when I look back at it, I'm just like, well, if I wanted to pivot in myself further, or if I wanted to try like a different avenue, I would really think of, okay, how could I leverage somebody that may know or provide me the right resources to set up my business for sustainability, right? It's all about creating that like-minded community from the beginning, because I didn't do that and I wish I had, because I feel like certain things would have propelled differently. So looking back on it now, like these are things that I would advise. You'd be like, create your community, find your like-minded people, link up with them, figure out ways, okay guys, this is what the goal is. How can we execute that goal by leveraging different resources, leveraging different people? So that's my biggest thing I would say.
Yes. I'm so glad you said that, because we spent December talking about collaboration, the
Yeah.
importance of collaboration, how to collaborate, when to collaborate. And I think that this message is coming through even more clearly as we transition into this focus on education, that if you are able to identify an issue, you're not quite sure if you're the right person to do it, but something needs to be done.
Yeah.
See how you can create community to fill your own gaps, right? Which
Right.
is kind of, I guess, practicing what we preach as far as education goes,
Yeah.
right?
It really is. And you know what it is too, Nadia? Like when you're doing something that's so genuine and like so intentional, you'd be surprised how you become like this magnet. Because I just start like my inbox would just start to fill up and I'm just like, how is this happening? But like God has a way of really putting people in your path to direct you and guide you and support you. So it's like really hold on to your faith, hold on to your whys, because your whys will really get you through to say,
Mhm.
I need to stay grounded in my values. I need to stay grounded in my philosophy and not wavering because the world will tell you otherwise.
Right, right. So I've heard this conversation on remembering your why.
Yeah.
And when we talk about this in business, where we have a sense of autonomy,
Mm.
we can make the decision and see the impact. If we were wrong, we'll take the consequences, but we'll learn from it and we'll keep moving forward.
Yes.
But then I've heard career professional educators who are in the system, I've heard their frustration
Mm.
at that response from administration. So if they're saying, listen, this is a challenge, I need more support, and they're told to remember their why, that it comes across as almost dismissive when it's coming from administration. So for you, who you were in the system, and now you're not. You're
Yeah.
free to create opportunities for children as the children need those opportunities.
Yeah.
Let's speak some encouragement to the system educator who is hearing these words, and they're lovely words when they apply to a person with autonomy, like yourself and
Yeah.
myself, as we are
Yeah.
in business now.
Yes.
But for them who are subjugated under the system that they've, signed on to follow, and they're just kind of stuck in there, I want the rest of our conversation to almost be a roadmap for those who are hungry for change. How can they use remembering their why now when they're still in the system to help them to
Mm.
create that change later down the road?
Oh, that's a great question, because that's actually what kind of stifled me to a certain point, because everything that you're saying is exactly what was my reality at one point. And the frustration kept building and building and building. And that's the problem, because the system creates these limitations. So, because of that, I'm looking at, okay, what other avenue do I have to take? The whys can only get you so far within that system, right? So it's like I
Right.
have to leave. I have to create something. I have to band together. So if you're still now in the system and you're facing that, this is now where it's like, what is the next step? Because if
Mhm.
admin is not really hearing my concerns and giving me the proper resources that I need, it's definitely challenging. It is. And this is where I think a lot of the inner workings has to really be solid. I really like the
Yes.
whys, yes, but the whys also come with the inner workings of healing yourself, right? Creating a better version for yourself to deal with your day to day, the day to day frustrations. Because it's like when you're healing your inner self, then it's like you're able now to tackle the challenges of the day. Because that's exactly what
Yes.
I had to do. I had to really do a lot of inner workings to figure out, okay, how can I now deal with the same problem I'm having? You know, one teacher, 30 students, all these behaviors, no one's hearing me, there's no resources, there's no help. Yeah, so it's self care. It really does come down to self
Yes.
care.
And Alicia, you've hit the nail on the head. It is that internal healing. And that's why, I mean, just look at Alicia's setup. Okay. Just look at
Oh,
what's around her. She's
I
she's
love my
creating
plants.
these atmospheres of just life and rejuvenation and healing and living out that healing for
Yeah,
the children who are working with her. So Alicia, let's
yeah.
talk a little bit more about what you do,
Mhm.
and then I have a few, questions for you about how parents can help to build more literacy at home. So
Yeah.
tell us about what you do now. Tell us about your business. I mean, I can speak to it and I will show off a little bit about you in a bit, but you tell us, you know, all of what you're doing in your community right now.
Yeah, so right now we pivoted to a online space. So we do have online classes, workshops, like outings. It is such like a community movement because I want to be on academics not to be within four walls, but I want to be on academics to be a movement. So that's just not catering to just homeschool families. That's catering to just families period. So I created like, we have group chats, we have these online spaces where it's like when we have field trips and we're having outings, I'm reaching out to everybody and we're all linking up. We're all like, exchanging our day to days and just being a supportive platform for everybody. But just going back to like, our online classes, everything is just really geared and tailored to the individual child. And when I talk about like, the academic excellence and teaching them above grade level, I just feel like that is just so important for our children because they just need a space where someone is not limiting them and not saying, well, according to this curriculum or according to these standardized tests, this is where you're at. Actually, I'm approaching it in a different lens where it's like, let me observe this child. Let me see what their interests are, right? But how are they going to know what they like if we're not introducing it to them? So this is where I am now introducing everything. So let's see now what sticks. And then from that,
Mhm.
I'm creating classes around that. So we'll have piano sessions, we'll have coding sessions, we'll have drawing sessions. Because who's to say, like, the first 2 hours is only math? No, actually, we're going to be baking online. We're going to learn how to cook. We're going to learn how to wash chicken. It's like this whole philosophy is just out of the box thinking because the beauty of the autonomy of my business is that I'm in control. And when you have that control, it gives you so much freedom, Nadia. It gives you so much freedom to do so much without any limitations that anybody's saying, oh, you can't teach that until they're this age. No, my 4-year-old is going to know about CPR. So we're teaching about the basics of CPR. We're teaching about the inner workings of your body and how everything is so like interconnected. And we're looking at like, like I have all these different things around the house so they can see like, the kidneys and the structures of it to make it hands-on and engaging and project-based. So when we're modeling these organs now, guess what they're doing? They're going to be now making it themselves from scratch and figuring it out. But the point is, you have it available to them so they can see it and get like, curious about it. Like, Miss Alicia, what is that? Oh yeah, this is the kidneys, and then showing them where it's located exactly on their body. So the whole philosophy is
Absolutely.
introduce it to them.
No, you said so much there, and I really hope that we are hearing and listening.
Yes.
One, that sense of control, going back to, agency and autonomy as an educator who is passionate, creative, and still very much concerned about the child. Then you
Yes.
talked about the individual child. You talked about making it hands on, engaging, project based, which are three key words that we connect on right away.
Yes.
Right. And I mean, again, like going back to our like first few chats, we were just
Oh
like,
my god.
yes, and Nadia, yes, and
That you
Alicia,
are
yes. Sorry.
amazing. You are amazing. I when I met you, sorry to cut you off, but when I met you, I was like, this lady is amazing. We have so much in common. You know how like it was a breath of fresh air when I met you because I was like, it's a thing when you meet like-minded people, and it's like, yes, you get me.
Yes,
Yeah.
because you know what? I think, and it comes from that space of self care that you referenced before.
Yes.
When we start acknowledging what we would have needed to excel even better in our own education
Oh,
experience,
yes.
we're able to create that and pour that into our children now,
Yep.
you know? And
Yep.
so we can't do that when we're bogged down by the million rules and regulations, the checklist, like
That's
you
so
said,
true.
the standardized testing, the responsiveness instead of innovation. So you're
Mhm.
talking about introducing new things to children, enrichment, proactive enrichment, right?
Yeah.
While also you're balancing that with, well, first you observe the child and then you're able
Yeah.
to build reactive projects around them. And what I really want parents in particular to hear is how much intention goes into building out an individualized curriculum for a
Yeah.
child, how much
Yeah.
love and passion goes into actually stopping and noticing the child and celebrating the child as
Yeah.
opposed to creating the box in which the child must fit,
Ooh.
right? And so when we are healing as educators, we are peeling off those boxes and those limitations on ourselves, and so we don't want to put them on the children either, you know. So let's talk now. You said you're helping homeschool parents and parents whose children are in traditional school.
Yeah.
Um, First of all, I need to show off. So my homeschool child, when, when we were making the decision to take her out of school again, because we tried it all, people, okay? We did not just give up. We tried everything. And so when we finally pulled her out of school once and for all, I was showing her your Instagram page and all the cool things that the kids were doing with you and learning about the brain and
Yeah.
being at the park. And it was so familiar to the way how we do homeschool, you know? So she was really excited to come. And at that time I wasn't well and I wasn't working, so it was, you know, a little easier to maneuver. And so when we weren't able to return, it was, when are we going back by Miss Alicia? When can I go back by Miss Alicia? I'm like, okay, all right, well, the baby is born now, let me see if she's back for September. And so that was it all summer long, you know, Miss Alicia, Miss Alicia, Miss Alicia. She
Yeah.
loved it. She loved the space. She loved learning with you, you know, and it was such a calming space for her. And it was such a continuity from home to your space. It was like all one thing for her, you know, it wasn't like this big abrupt, like
Yep.
school. I find school
Yeah.
kind of has that
It
arresting,
is.
you
It
know.
is. It is. Exactly.
So thank you for that, first of all.
You are
So
very welcome. You are so
so now
welcome.
let's try to help some parents. So
Yeah.
homeschool parents have decided that they're taking on educating their child fully, right?
Yeah.
Even if they tap into other resources like, you know, what you offer, some community supports, they're in charge of their child's education fully.
Yes.
The average parent whose child is in school, they're expecting the school is taking on the brunt of this responsibility. But that doesn't mean that parents don't continue to play a role in literacy at home. So
That's right.
let's start talking now about strategies to encourage reading and writing in our children. You talked about introducing things early. So when do we start? When do we read? When do we write? Is there a rule for this? Are there things that we look out for before we try to introduce something? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I'm just a keen believer on introduce as soon as possible. I don't like to look at, okay, the world is saying, oh, yeah, introduce when they're at this age. But I'm like, but why? Because I always go back to, who did you study to get that information from? Because we know now that a lot of the tests that have been done is not really for everybody. It's like a one size fits all. So I always look at it, just introduce and see what sticks. Because even if your child is not verbally saying something to you or repeating back what you're saying, guess what? But they're still listening. Subconsciously, their mind is still putting together everything that you're saying. And the thing is, when they reach a certain age and they're saying certain things, you're wondering, like, oh, so they were listening. So that comes now with the patience. A lot of homeschooling, teaching, whatever it is, it starts with us as parents. We have to really do a lot of like inner workings. And I always refer back to that, because once you understand that a lot of it is on us as parents, you will see how things go off so differently, because now we're not pouring over our childhood traumas onto our children. So if they're not grasping certain concepts, we're not like yelling at them, but it's a C, it's a C. Right? Instead, the approach is just, you need to be calm, right? So if they're coming at you in a very hyperactive way, we're not going to match that, but we're going to be a pillow and absorb it, and like mirror a different, behavior that is, acceptable at the time. Because, when we're learning math, or we're, no, it was English that we're referring to, like the phonics. The phonics is something that I would read as early as possible. And also, it's really being strategic in the books too that you're reading. So there's, two different types of books. There's books where independent books, where they can grasp the phonics. And then there's books that the parents read to the child. So we have to be very careful as to which books we're introducing, because then our expectation would be different too. Because I see that a lot of times too, parents be like, oh, I read this, my child can't read. And I'm looking at the book. And I'm like, well, that's why. This is a book that you'd read to them, not the way they were around. They're not going to sit and read it to like. So it's like, we need to do the inner workings, but we also need to set our expectation as well too for our child. And also that grace and that patience to say, okay, I know that even though they're not verbally ready right now, I'm still going to do my part, and I'm still going to continue to read to them, show them different things, show them different books, different languages, because we know that brain just soaks up everything. Right? And there's a crucial period of time, that developmental time. So we really have to just grasp that first 5, sometimes 7 years, and do as much as we can as parents, just knowing that. So there is science in that. And we have to respect the science and know, okay, there's a crucial period that I need to like introduce certain things. So I need to do that now.
What do you say to let kids be kids? Just let them play. Don't worry about all that book stuff. Just let them go wild. Don't do any of it. What do you say to that?
I love that when people say that, just let them play. And then hear what now. So we have that mentality now. And then when we're now trying to enforce work to them, and we're realizing, oh my gosh, they're not learning, or they don't know this. And then you have to think back, oh, it was because of that mentality. Now I'm all for play. Play-based learning is it, you guys. Play-based learning is it. However, I'm finding that term being very loose nowadays, because if it's not scaffolded, and if you're not getting down on the child's level, and if you're not intentional with that play, it's not play-based learning. At that point, you're just letting them play, and then you're doing your own thing. You have to be intentional. It's like, I'm playing because this is the goal. Right? So if I'm going to introduce characters that they like into their phonics and their alphabets and stuff like that, that's intentional play. And I love those kind of plays where it's like scavenger hunt. Like, where's at? And this is another thing too, this may be off topic a little bit, but just even teaching about like phonics, it's not like A, B, C. We got to stop singing it, because the moment now we take those letters out of place, they don't know what to do. They're like, they're singing it in their head. I'm like, okay, that's the problem, because we need to focus more on the phonics versus the memorization of it. And this is where the phonic awareness, this is where it begins, because then as they get older, they're going to grasp certain concepts. So when we're doing spelling bees and stuff, they understand, syllables and whatnot, because the phonics was instilled at a young age, not the memorization though.
I love that. So I want us to, for parents who aren't familiar with some of our terms. So you mentioned scaffolding, which we understand as educators. So we want to break that down a little bit for parents there.
My apologies. It's really just getting down on your child's level And just understanding where a point where they're doing individual work, and then you know how to, help them, assist them, but you're not doing everything. It's almost like you're around them and helping, but you're not doing everything. So that the term is scaffolding is because we're just trying to approach their learning in a very nurturing manner, where we're showing them that I'm here to support you, but you see me, I'm on your level. So when I'm here to help, so just, just give me that look and I'll be right in to help you. So
Yes,
that's what that
yes,
term
yes.
means. My apologies.
Thank you, Miss Alisha.
You're
And you
welcome.
because we want parents to understand. You're so right. The learn through play, we know that that's the way. But you're
Yeah.
right, it is being misused. It is being used as a laissez-faire approach to
Yep.
education. And for parents, understanding that play, first of all, you have risky play, that's important. Let them
Yeah.
climb, let them jump, let them find their balance and find their footing,
Yeah.
right? You have individual play where they're given a learning invitation that, like you said, has a particular end goal. There is a point to,
Yes.
what it is that we are introducing, so that we can take them a little further in this exploration.
Yeah.
There's community play. So they're playing with you as a parent, they're playing with their peers, right? And so there are all these different ways that play is very intentionally used. Okay. So parking the kid in front of PBS Kids with two
Yeah.
blocks and a Lego does not count as learn through play. To be clear,
Yeah. That's not it, you guys.
right? Um, and so as we talk about different things that parents can do, so
Mhm.
give an example of a book a parent should read versus a book a child should read. Kind of like, what are the characteristics that
Yeah.
parents should use, at about any age? What are you looking for generally to know, I read this book, kid reads this book?
Yeah, generally it depends, and not even so much the age. It really just depends on their development and what you're seeing that they can recognize. So when it's starting with the phonics, like, are they memorizing the words? Can they say the sounds? Can they spell? Or what about even memorizing, like, shapes and stuff? Because even that you'll see in books too, right? So you're looking for, like, the pictures, the simple sentences, right? And then books that would be for adults would be obviously a little bit longer, and there'd be more going on in terms of, like, picture wise, um, that you can really create a story with them as you're reading with them, and a great, back and forth conversation. But we're also looking for, like, the comprehension side of it as well too, right?
Yes,
So
are we actually understanding what we read?
understanding, and that is
Hmm.
so great. So when I'm talking about books that the parents would read to the child, the comprehension is a big thing. Like, read it back to them and say, okay, well, why did they feel cold, or why did they jump over that, what happened exactly, to see as you're moving along through the book, to make sure that they're paying attention, they're understanding, or else what are we
Yeah,
doing here?
exactly, exactly. And comprehension is the difference between calling words and reading.
Yes.
you know yes.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so for parents to recognize, because I remember when my daughter was about 2.5 3 years old,
Yeah.
she read a book back to me, and then I realized she just completely memorized the entire book because we read the book so often. Right, so she'd
Yeah.
memorized the entire book page by page. She could recite it closed if she wanted to. Right. And
Honestly, I don't know. Memorization is such a funny thing. It's like, I find there's a place for it, but we have to know where that place is. And sometimes when
yeah.
we're trying to learn the fundamentals of things, it's like, it's the comprehension, you guys. We got to make sure that
Exactly, exactly.
they're, you know what it is, Nadia? It's for parents to understand that when certain concepts are taken out of wherever you're teaching them, once I'm seeing, okay, where's the letter A? Where can you find that now? Because this whole
Yeah.
time I was teaching it in the book. Now I don't have the book
Right.
now. So can you now spot the A now?
Yes.
So it's like understanding it in certain different contexts. Yeah.
And that's an example of making it now a game, right? Gamifying it. That's where play is reintroduced, right? So we're
Yeah.
not losing academia for play. We're not losing one for the other, right? you have that balance of academics and play running all the way throughout, which is exactly the approach to education that that we both connect with. And
Absolutely.
yes, so sometimes there, and it also goes down to recognizing the child's intelligence,
Ooh, yes.
because like my daughter's ability to memorize is just, she sees it, she knows it, right? Like it's
Mhm.
just stuck in her head now forever and ever.
Yeah.
For another child, it's not memorization, but like you said, it's no creation. So they see these words on this page and they're off making a whole new story, on a tangent based on that. And so recognizing, where is my child intelligence,
Mm,
right? So when we're looking to, so for parents, breaking it down, recognize where your child is, give
yeah.
them books at their level, read books the level ahead of them. That creates a familiarity so that when it's time for them to get to that level, it's not brand new, it's not scary. So that's the breakdown on that piece of the conversation. Hope you guys are taking notes. And if you are not taking notes, please remember, first of all, that you are watching us on YouTube or listening to us live or catching the replay on Love Bay Radio, your number one Caribbean and Afrobeat music talk radio online, people. I mean, we are all over the world right now. Do me a favor, if you're watching us on YouTube, just comment below what country you are coming in from. Um, so, Alisha, now we're looking at our little ones now,
Mhm.
okay? Because if literacy is an issue, we understand it has to start from young.
It does,
And
yes.
so we now know that as parents, if we want to increase our children's literacy levels, we are one, focusing on our own self care, our own internal healing, so that we are pouring out of that healed space and not out of our
Mhm.
trauma in dealing with our
Mhm.
kids. We're being patient. We learned a new term, scaffolding. So we are getting down on our child's level. We
Yeah.
are close by, but we're not taking over. We're not over instructing. No hand over hand and moving their hand around and right, trying to make them do it the right way the
I
first
know.
time. We're dismantling all of that.
Yeah.
And now we're approaching learning. We are giving our children books that they can read at their level, and we
Yeah.
are reading to them and introducing books at the next level to build that sense of familiarity. We are introducing methods of play and gamifying the experience. So, are we understanding what we're reading, and then how can we take the phonics lesson further from there? So that's just the recap. If you've missed what we were talking about before and what we've been talking about so far, but now I want to start teaching my little one, right? How early? What does literacy look like at the earliest stages? What am I doing as a parent? I'm a first time parent, right? I'm a first time parent. I have no background in education. I finished my high schooling and now I got a kid. What should I be doing? How do I help my kid to be a better reader?
Well, we're going to create a lovely environment so your child can be like, oh my gosh, I want to dive into that. I see colors, I see the world. I'm just like, what is that? The idea is that we want to spark that curiosity. And that curiosity, even as adults, is like we get very caught up in the visuals. We get caught up in what looks interesting. I want to touch, I want to feel, I want to taste. They want to use all their senses. So the thing is, allow them to do that. And that
Mhm.
may mean that you just have a station that is, friendly for them to want to explore, but showing them like different picture books, sounds. Like there's books that have like that little scrunchy sound that when they're flipping it, it makes all these noises. We gotta
Mhm.
tap into different senses because at the end of the day, we're trying to encourage lifelong learners that they always want to go to that corner because that corner has all the fun stuff, has all the fun books with all the different colors and textures. So it's really having a wide range of like different types of books, picture books, books that have like, the sounds to them, books that
Mhm.
have like, the cutout flaps, books that pop out to them. But it's really creating that space, but also to modeling that as well too. So setting out that time throughout the day to be like, whether that's first thing when you wake up, before bed, you guys have like, story time, but really creating that atmosphere of love, atmosphere of, I want to read now. Mommy, what are we reading now? But if they're not even
Mhm.
talking yet, you'll still feel it. You'll sense it from them because Energy is real. Well, you'll feel the energy of your child of like wanting to read or wanting to like feeling engaged, that you're reading to them and they're looking up at you and like, okay, you continue to read, because they will grasp what you're saying. Because like I said before,
Absolutely.
that brain is a sponge. And as they get older, they're going to realize, the love for learning, the love for reading, and they're going to pick up on certain words, but also labeling things too, labeling with pictures. That works miracles, because if they cannot read at that age, throw them pictures, right?
Yeah.
Have bins, change out certain bins so that way it doesn't get boring for them. You got to really change out the environment for them so it's not always the same thing. Switch out a section and put something new, or even old. It's really just about making it look new and fun to them. Because I always
Mhm.
go back to my experience as a child. I'm just like, well, if I had this set out a certain way, I would have been so eager. So based on that, we have to move on our experiences. Like, oh, how did I grow up, or how did I love reading when I was this age, right? Or did my parents always read to me at this age, or maybe I should incorporate more now with my child. It's always looking at what was done and how I can make that better now.
Yes. Okay. So a book nook, a little corner, a cute little space, a welcoming environment, a calming space, somewhere that's kind of your kids' own, but that you can share with them. We're
Yeah.
modeling. So, parents, are you reading as well? Are you having that quiet time for reading? How is your child able to interact with reading? So understanding that, yeah, your little ones know they can't figure out which one exactly is letter A, and the word cat doesn't make sense right now. But can
Yeah.
they touch? Can they experience it? Those little cloth books where my 6 month old right now is all over anything she can put in her mouth at this point, right? So
Yeah.
the
Yes.
little floppy cloth books with the multiple textures that they can literally chew on knowledge, right?
You on them,
Um,
basically, yes.
Yes. And then the ones that sing and all of these things. So we're looking for multiple experiences that are age appropriate for your child. But the overarching thing there, as Miss Alicia is saying, is it a space where that child wants to be? And are
Hmm.
you sharing that space with them? Are you modeling that reading is important to you as well? So, okay,
Exactly.
I live in a small, tight apartment. So I don't have tons of money. How
Hmm.
can I create this whole little reading nook thing? What are some, quick, simple, easy ways that I can, create a welcoming space for my child? What are some suggestions there?
Yes, I actually love that question, because I was gonna say, I'm like, even if you don't have the space, be
Mhm.
creative, because I had to be creative. At one point when I didn't have the space, I was just using a bin. I just had a bin, but I would decorate the bin. It's just a bin, literally a bin, not a full bookshelf like I have on this side here. Like, I have multiple bookshelves around my house, but prior to that, it was literally just a bin. But guess what? My little one is creating the designs on that bin with me. So I'm getting them engaged and hands on to create their own space. So guess
Yeah.
what they're doing? Like handprints and everything. And then guess what? I'm cutting it out and I'm gluing it on my little basket. And that basket is where their
Hmm.
books are, their toys are, and everything that needs to be in there. And we're making
Yeah.
labels together. But the thing is, I'm making it hands on and I'm making it engaging. And it can start with a bin. But more
Hmm.
importantly, it really starts with you and how you approach the learning with your child. Because even if you don't even have a bin, the point is just have books near you. So when that time comes, when it's learning time, they see you're engaged. They see that you love what you're doing, because it does start with us. Even if we don't have anything, it just starts with us. Even if you don't even have a book, Nadia, you can literally just make up stories. But the point is, your child is seeing
Yes.
that mommy, daddy, grandma, whoever is here, and they're reading to me, and it just sounds lovely because they love to hear your voice, and they're
Mhm.
seeing that you're engaged. They see that you're seeing them, right? They just want to be seen and heard and loved.
Yes. And I love that idea of having the child involved, because that
Yeah.
now brings back that sense of autonomy we talked about.
Yes.
We are lacking the autonomy as adults. It's something that we crave and desire. So we want to build that in with our children from the beginning,
Yeah.
right? So they're involved in that decorating process. And I love the idea of, start where you are, right?
Yes.
Maybe it's a bookshelf, maybe it's a bin, maybe it's just a corner of the bed where you just have a couple books at a time,
That's
right?
it.
And of course, there's always the library. You don't have to go purchase all of these books. Borrow a book
Yeah.
or two.
Yes.
Borrow one for the one that your child will read, one you'll read to your child, and one for you to read, so
Yes.
that you're modeling that behavior as well. So, Alisha, I want us to just leave our parents with one thing here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, we want to build this confidence in our young scholars, as you call them. We call them leaders. You call them young scholars.
I love
Um,
it.
because we believe everyone must first learn to lead self before you lead anybody else. You must lead yourself. So we're all leaders. um and
Yeah.
so when we're looking at strategies to build confidence in our lifelong learners, right, we want children who are going to continue to be excited about learning and creating opportunities to learn. What is
Mhm.
the one thing that you would tell a parent to stop doing today, and the one thing you would tell a parent to start doing today to build that
Ooh.
confidence in their children?
To build confidence, oh my gosh, you really just have to understand your child. You
Mhm.
really have to understand your child, and it does take a lot of patience. But understanding that this is a being that you created, so take time with them and don't let the outside world, even your family, your friends, don't let them influence your decisions and how you teach your child, because this is your child and you're with this child all the time. So move at their pace. And I
Mhm.
always say that please move at their pace, because the moment you start rushing them and have these expectations that doesn't make sense, you're not going to create lifelong learners. Now they're just going to dread that learning
Right.
experience. And in order for to
Mhm.
create lifelong learners, we have to come from a place of intention. We have to come from a place of love, which we all do as parents, right? So the point is, maybe we need to find resources to make ourselves comfortable and confident enough to teach our child, because sometimes it may come from us lacking a certain method of teaching. So I just encourage you that we are the creators. We will figure it out and leverage and find resources to help better suit the need of yourself and your child, because
Mhm.
resources are out there. Google is out there to figure out. So it's like, you take information from there, take information from there,
Mhm.
and now see what makes sense for you and your family. But at the end of the day, observe your child, see their interests, see what they like, and from those interests, let it incorporate into their learning.
Mhm. So stop allowing yourself to feel pressured from external people telling you you have to do this and you have to do it this way and whatnot. But take all of that information in,
Yes.
synthesize it, analyze it, and then you make a decision on what you want for your child, so that they aren't now feeling the pressure of they have to do this by this time and do it in a certain way, but they're
Yeah.
feeling the freedom to continue to learn with you and on their own. Did I get that right, Miss Alicia?
Yes. And
All
Miss Lisha's
right.
here too for guidance, because I love to just give parents any advice that they need along this learning journey, because you guys, it takes a village. And this village is not family. That's not the village that we're going for. Village is people to help other people support each other, because we're here to support each other. So let's reach out and help each other out in this process.
Absolutely, absolutely. And thank you so very much
Thank you.
for what you are doing, for all of the different ways that you are helping parents, that you're helping the children. I can speak firsthand to the benefits of the way how you support children. And for me as a homeschool parent, I mean, child, I use that time to just shop, meet up with a friend, have a cup
Yes.
of coffee.
Yes.
It was a
As
good
you
way
should.
to just take a moment, right?
Yes.
Um, and
I
so I really want to thank you for coming on here and joining us today. I'm going to take this time now, Miss Alicia, to introduce our viewers on YouTube. If you do not know where and how to find us, please go over to YouTube and search for Love Bay Radio. Um, do what you know you're supposed to do: subscribe, like, comment, do all the things that are going to help us. But we know that thousands of you listen to us on radio every night when we come here and spend this time with you. So I'm going to make sure that this link is in the chat on YouTube, but you can go to mcrc.on.ca. That's the Milton Community Resource Center. And I am going to share my screen so that everyone can see. If you are watching on YouTube, if you're not, go catch us on YouTube. You'll see us over there. So this is the Milton Community Resource Center. As Miss Alisha was saying, there are tons of places that you can go online to find out more about how you can build literacy in to what your children are doing at every age and every stage. So going over to mcrc.on.ca, in our community, come along, because we are here to promote other nonprofits in the space that are supporting us and helping us to continue the work that we are doing. All right. So I'm happy to introduce you to yet another nonprofit in the education space. And again, I'll make sure that the link is there for you. You can learn so much just from where they are online. If you are in the Milton area in Ontario, take full advantage of these resources. And if you're an educator, also take full advantage of the resources that they have there. And finally, in our last segment of the evening, more love. We just want to let you know all the amazing things that are coming up on Love Bay Radio. Yes, please. So if you want your logo to pop up right now on the screen on YouTube, make sure to send us a message here at Love Bay Radio. But on More Love, we are going to just remind you that we are here for you at Love Bay Radio. Thank you for everyone who supported us throughout December. We have so many more amazing things coming up for you in 2025. You need to find ways to support this station. The easiest, simplest thing that you can do right now is to subscribe to the YouTube channel, right? So you're going to go over to YouTube and you're going to go to Love Bay Radio and you're going to subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're on our Instagram, you're watching us on LinkedIn, wherever it is that you are coming across this information, subscribe and share with your friends. We have been building our online radio space for a long time, and we are finally building our online YouTube space. So if you are joining us on YouTube, don't keep this a secret. Please share the secret, share the love, right? So when we say share, we are making sure that we are giving you content that is applicable to your life as a community member, applicable to what is going on right here, right now in the world, to help you, your family, your children, your community have these conversations that are meaningful and in depth. So, my friends, share the love. Go right now to youtube.com and search for Love Bay Radio and subscribe there so that you can catch, you know what you're missing out on? All the other shows, right? All of the other shows that you didn't get to see, you can go back and watch them and catch up and comment and ask your questions. And if you watch us live, when you ask a question or you make a comment, you can actually be participating in the show because we can pop your comment up on the screen and everybody else can see it. And then you'll be able to actually be a part of the show. If we have a guest come on, they can answer your question right here, right now. You don't even have to wait for the replay and try to follow up. So watch us live every Sunday at 5 p.m. for community conversations on YouTube. Yes, please. And share the love. Share these videos out with your friends and with your supporters so that they are able to be a part of the conversation. My friends, continue to have these important conversations wherever you are. January is Literacy Awareness Month, and we ourselves need to participate in educating ourselves so that we can create a better opportunity for our children and our youth to develop this confidence, to build this confidence so that they can be lifelong learners, so that they can take every opportunity that is being offered to them. So when we model it by having these conversations, laying it out on the table, talking about the real stuff, then we give them the opportunity to ask questions in a meaningful way, knowing that they can trust us to respond to them fully. My friends, I am so thankful to have the opportunity to host all of these lovely guests for you throughout the month of January. Do me a favor, subscribe, like, and share, and we will be back here to continue the conversation These are important conversations in our community, and they will not be lost. They will continue. Thank you so very much. And from all of us here at Love Bay Radio, have a lovely night and continue the conversation.